Good morning, parents. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the number one thing that nearly all adopted children think that they need. Not what they actually need, but the number one thing that they think that they need that gets in the way of them finding stability within their adoptive home. My name is Brooke Fremouw. I'm a certified trauma support specialist. I am the founder of The Trauma Mama. So if you want to find out more about who I am and what I do, find me on Facebook with Brooke Fremouw, or find me at thetraumamama.com. I don't know how to turn off notifications, so sorry about the dinging. But at least you know I'm real, right? Like, technology is not my specialty. All that being said, let's talk through this. As an adoptive mom to 11, and as a person studied in the world of trauma, specifically relating to in utero trauma, post utero trauma, adoption trauma, and post-adoption trauma, that being the world that I know so intimately, personally and professionally, I can tell you with almost 100% certainty that this one thing is the one thing. Now, if I were to go into where I live in Arizona, and I go into the city center and I say, what is the thing that an adopted kid wants the absolute most? What do you think the population would say? The population that's not raising these kids? Love. That's what they would say. No, I don't align with that. I don't align with that. But we are given in society the message that adopted children just need love. And that if you give them enough love, that love heals all wounds. Have we heard these expressions? Is this what you thought prior to adopting your beautiful child or children? It certainly was my naive understanding. If I just give them enough love, if I tell them how special they are, if I tuck them into bed at night, if I get them involved in activities that are of their interests, if I pray over them, they're going to be okay. The reality is in my experience, the first time I had a tween put into our home, I learned real quick that I can love, 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 love. It doesn't mean they're going to accept it. That I can love, love, love. And that even the people on that therapeutic team, we had behaviorists, interventionists, psychiatrists, psychologists. So meds were on board, right? We had respite, we had habilitation, we had an IEP team, we had case managers, social workers, on and on and on. And yet still, I'm loving, loving, loving. And my child was not getting better. The evidentiary way of knowing, right? Like, the symptoms of her distress were getting worse. They weren't getting better. So I learned love was not the answer. The therapeutic team, I remember they came to me and they said, what you and your husband are doing, you guys are good parents. Remain consistent. So if the general population doesn't say love, the second thing that I would think that they would say, and even people in the world of adoptive families, they'll say consistency is key. Again, have you heard that? Consistency is key. And while they're not wrong, consistency and love are fundamental components of what every child needs, every human, not even just kids, right? Every human needs love and consistency. Yet the child doesn't align with, I need consistency. Consistency is frightening sometimes. Right? Because everything in their life prior was so inconsistent in many cases, they don't know how to process consistency. And the reality is when you show up with love and consistency, a lot of times they're like, this is scary because I feel myself falling for this could be my forever mom. Actually enjoying time with my dad. And that scares the socks off of me because everything I've ever had in my life has been temporary. For most adopted kids, there's not been one thing in their entire life that has sustained the course of time from inception until the age at which you are raising them. So why would they believe that you are going to be the exception to that rule? That from the time that they know you, that's going to last until the rest of forever. They have no reason to believe that. They have no reason to buy into that. So it scares them. And as much as they may enjoy aspects of your love and consistency, it certainly is not going to solve the problems. And yet here I was with my tween being told love and consistency, and eventually my child is going to fall into that. They're going to work through their stuff in therapy, and they will find their neutral and be able to just sit and accept their space in your heart and in your home. It told me just stay consistent and wait it out. And I got to tell you, what that felt like to me was a dagger. Because while I was being love and consistency and having consistency, I was in a tremendous amount of pain. A child that I loved, a child that I actively worked to show up for and move into our family, was hurting. And in that child's hurt, I was getting hurt. Things were being done and said. A matter of fact, sometimes the aim of some of my adopted children literally was to hurt me. They were hurt and they didn't want to be alone in it. And they held me responsible for some of their hurt. Therefore, I became the target of their maladaptive behaviors with a direct intent at times to wound me, to scare me. Whatever it took, they threatened sometimes. I'm going to call the police department and tell on you things that you're not really doing. I'm going to go wake up my little siblings and tell them, hey, listen, I'm going to get you out of here. Well, those little kids didn't know anybody but us. That wouldn't have been kind or helpful. It terrified me that in order to hurt me, she would involve the innocent kids in the house. Terrifying. So I didn't like the answer that stay consistent with right where you're at and wait it out. Wait it out felt like a death sentence. I didn't want to just wait it out. So I dive into information. I dive into education. And along the way, I learned that the number one thing, are you ready for it? If you're an adopted mom, you already know. You may not have actually put it into words, but I'm curious, type in the comments what it is before I say it. And let's just see how many people know what it is intuitively without needing the education, without needing me to tell you, right? Control. You see it play out almost every single day in your house. And whether it's done through the child that's extra endearing, extra perfect, extra loving, some kids, that's how they show up. They think that they need to be perfect because when they're not, they get hurt. They get in trouble. They get consequences. Sometimes they get moved from one home to another based upon behavior. And so if they don't show up perfect, they don't feel safe. So they're going to control the circumstances by showing up perfect. And when they're not perfect, the level of devastation is huge. So much so that they could just give up. That they could go from, I love you, I need you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Let me do the chores for you. Let me make my room clean for you. Let me give you a massage, right? To, I'm out. I can't do this. The pendulum swing is big, right? Or I hate myself, I should just die. Because I'm never going to be perfect. The standard that I have set for myself and that I believe society has set around me, my family has set around me, is so high, I can't do it. I might as well just quit on my life, quit on my family, quit on myself. Or the more common way that adopted kids that have extensive trauma. The more common way that we see that show up in maladaptive behaviors is through self-sabotage, right? They actually work really hard to be the authority in the house, in the school, in all relationships, but most intimately in the mother-child connection, usually, because the original abandonment wound comes from a mom. And so what they do is, you need to do life this way, mom, and if you don't, I'm going to punish you. You need to give me what I want, because if you don't, ooh, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly around here. And so there is a battle of wills. And as parents, we know that it is not safe or okay, that our child will not find success and reach their highest potential in life unless they learn to follow authority. And yet, at a core fundamental belief, our children don't think it's okay to not be in control, because if the person that gave birth to them was in control, how would they be able to survive that environment? If they surrendered the authority fully over to that and lost that, they don't believe they'd be okay. And so they're never going to give their power over to somebody else again. In order to that, they might not be okay, because the cost was too high once upon a time, sometimes twice upon a time, or 3 times upon a time. The cost was too high. Therefore, I am going to be in charge and create my own destiny, and you're going to be along for the ride. Can I get a thumbs up if you're like, yeah, I hear that. I see that playing out in my family. What do you do about it? That becomes the question, right? What are we going to do about it? And the answer is we have to teach our kids how to create a drastic change and sit in surrender. We can't choose that for them. They have to choose it. But there are tools and systems that you can use in order to cultivate an environment that requires them to make that choice. That's what I do with my clients. That's what I do with my family. The focus cannot be on behavior. The focus cannot be on just loving consistency. The focus needs to be on our family choosing self-regulation and sitting in surrender, learning to be under an authority and feeling safe in that space. Unfortunately, I'm completely out of time. I just looked and I have a client call at 12 and 1 minute late. So we're going to have to stop right there. But if this sounds like, oh my word, yes, this is the problem in my house, please go to thetraumamama.com, shoot me a message on Facebook Messenger. Again, Brooke Fremouw, be happy to talk to you a little bit more about how we can get our families into there and what systems are already developed, proven, shown to work. God bless you guys. Thank you for your time. Bye-bye.